It's time for another Dice Tower review with Z. Garcia.
Hey everybody, today I'm taking a look at Legends of the American Frontier here, a card game that is very much about telling a story. It's a story-driven game. It's not quite a storytelling game, but it is a story-driven game in which you are trying to take your character through this American tale of exploring the Far West, exploring the frontier, and doing these spectacular sort of nation-changing things. Let me show you how this works, then we'll come back and I'll tell you what I think of the game. To set up the game, we're going to shuffle up all of the decks, put them in their respective places. This is actually a stack of several smaller decks, but I don't have the room to lay them out right now anyway. So those are just there. And then everybody is going to either be given or pick the character they'd like to play. And you have lots of different choices here, as you can see. So you just pick the one you want. There you go. All right. So I'm just going to go with this one I've got over here. There we go. And then you are going to get your token that has that character's face on it. And a few cards here with that character artwork on there as well. And then you are ready to begin, again, with all the other setup having been done. The game is about telling the best tale, basically. Taking your character through their history, accumulating interesting adventures, if you would. So at the beginning, we're going to start in their young age with this upbringing deck of cards. And this is sort of like phase one before we get into the meat of the game. This is a drafting phase, which is very short. Everybody's going to be given 5 cards. And then you are going to take a look at the cards. You are going to pick one, keep it, pass the other ones until you've drafted 4 of the 5, last one being discarded. And these are going to set your personality a little bit on the dials here on your board. And so if I keep this card, for example, everything would be set to 0, by the way, just so you know. But everything, if you keep a card like this, then it sets your capitalism there to 2, and the knowledge up here to 1. So you're going to keep that, and they all give you different things. Sometimes you get tokens right off the bat that later on you'll be using to score. And sometimes we even give you true grit tokens, which are these. Where are they? These over here that you can use for varying effects later on by cashing them in. All right. So once that's done, everybody has sort of, ticked up a few of these dials to set their personality a little bit. Then you are going to start the game proper by shuffling these cards, the skill cards, and giving everyone a hand of 7 cards. And then you flip over a card here back east, one in the frontier, and one far west. And you put out these fate wheels right here on each. Now the back east one, as it tells you right here on the board, gets revealed immediately. So this one really is always face up, and it somehow affects this adventure. These do not get revealed until this advances up here, and then it's revealed, or far west all the way to the top, after which, if it's still not done, it'll just fall off the edge there, and you flip over a new one. Or if you complete one, you flip over a new one. So, what are you trying to do here? Well, you are going to pick from your cards that have your character's face on it, which of the 4 things you would like to do. And you have the back east, the far west, the frontier, or you can rest, which is sort of like skipping a turn, but also getting a couple of benefits for having done that, all right? Now, these cards out here they have a little tale to tell you. They tell you something that relates to the story that's happening to you. They also tell you up here in the corner if it's a group adventure or a solo adventure. They have a little symbol right there. And then they tell you what you need, in what category you need it, and what your reward would be, what your penalty would be down in the corner, and some victory points if you complete it. The main difference is really just that the group ones everybody adds their scores together, and then whoever added the most is going to get to pick what reward they want first. All right, that's pretty much it. So I'm just going to focus on one of these single ones. The way this works is it tells me here that I have to choose between, it's both actually, providence and capitalism for this one. Sometimes they're and or, it's this or this. In this case, it's both, and I have to get a total of 15. So how do you do this? Fine. You're going to put your character out there, and then you are going to take a look at your hand, and you're going to play a card to this adventure, and you are trying to get to 15 or better than that. The symbol that you want is right here on these cards. So for example, if I play this, I already have a 6 towards that. I then take a look at my board as well, and I'm adding to it. In this case, let's say I'm up here, and let's go with that. So I've got 2 in Providence, 2 in Capitalism. I just added 6. That puts me at 10. I still need 15, all right? But after you've done all this, you are then going to flip a card, which is sort of destiny. It's an extra flip that adds on to your total. So right now I've got 10. I flip over 1. This is only 2. However, it's luck, which means I continue to flip. This is great. Oh, another luck card. I'm at 13. And this is 2 more, which is 15, which is good because this would have stopped it. You continue flipping if it's wild or luck or one of the symbols that matches. Sometimes you can get great streaks, sometimes not so much. So I just made it. I just got to 15, and I would have accomplished that mission assuming I'm the only one there. If it's multiple people trying for a solo adventure, whoever did the best is the one that gets to take the reward and keep the card, all right? So that's that. Also, this is something I should have done earlier, but I should have flipped this over at the beginning when I first encountered it and dealt with. In this case, it says lose 2 skill cards, so I would have discarded 2 cards, all right? So I would have finished this, and I would take it now. I would get, as it says here, I got +1 skill. I look at my board here. Oh, I want to be better at fighting, so I'll take that up. And then I take some tokens. In this case, I get 2 of these happiness tokens, and then I can take 1 more, and it can be either the happiness or one of these red tokens, all right? So I can do whatever I want. I'll say 2 purple, 1 red. That's what I'll take. I'll put that in front of me. And then the next player would go, depending on where they went, they're going to attempt that challenge. Same idea. And of course, you are going to be, as you are playing the game, reading out the titles of these things. So like this one is a spiritual benefactor. And the story is that I'm a benefactor for First Cathedral to be built in San Francisco. I would add this onto my upbringing cards, and a little story would start to develop. So I was born into a wealthy shipping family from Boston. I was at home in the woods, though, and I was one with the wilderness. I then became a benefactor for the First Cathedral to be built in San Francisco, and so on and so forth as your story gets told. And then you get to spend the right tokens, if you have them, to buy one of those things. And so let's say that later on I've got my 2 purple here, my happiness, and my 1 wealth right here. Well, I can spend these 3 tokens and buy this card and put that in front of me, add it onto my story. It's +1 victory point, and it says that I have rebuilt the old family farm, and I'll enjoy my elder years on it. So there you go. I can buy that, add it onto my story. And then I'd flip over the next one, make it available for the next player. Once that's all been dealt with, by the way, and you reset for a new round where you would draw a new one of these cards, this would have been discarded. And we put a new fate wheel on there. And any that were not dealt with would just age. As I said at the beginning, it would just move up if nobody went there, if nobody was able to do it anyway. If you are not able to do it, by the way, there is a penalty down here typically, which means you might draw a hardship or you might draw one of these penalty cards depending on the kind of adventure you attempted to have. That's the general flow of the game. I'm not going into a lot of specific details, but that's the idea. Overall, it is a very simple concept. You are picking where you want to go. You are playing cards to gain that story, typically alone, sometimes as a group, and that's pretty much it. I'm a big believer that the overview part of my reviews is ultimately more important than whatever I think of the game myself, but it's going to be especially true for this review because this game can be so polarizing and there is so little you don't get from an overview of the game. The game play, I'm talking mechanisms here, what you actually do in the game mechanically, is so-so. The game is full of luck. It's extremely swingy. You could just get wrecked for a bunch of turns in a row. It's honestly too long for what it is. It should be over sooner. And so if you want something that is mechanically strong, I don't think you're going to get it in this box. It's just not going to be. This is not a Euro game. It's kind of a swingy card game, you know. There's a little bit of take that, but it's mostly just luck. Push your luck, I guess, is the general concept here. However, if you approach this game with the right frame of mind, that is, it's a storytelling game where you are not the one forced to come up with the story, which I'm actually not a big fan of. I tend to really dislike those games that force you to tell little stories and haha, look at me being so funny. I tend to not like those. This one, though, brings the story in there for you, and you just sort of settle into your character. You see what happens to them, you have a few laughs, and you play the game, you know. And if you approach it with that frame of mind, then this is not bad. It's still too long. That's my main issue with it. And you could probably remove some cards and try to shorten the game because those are the endgame triggers. But the concept, the vibe that is built around this gameplay experience is neat. Especially if you enjoy this setting. I mean, I should say, not even especially. You have to enjoy this setting. Because otherwise, you're not going to be entertained. This is what the game gives you. It's going to put you there, you know. But you got to come along for it. You have to be willing, you know, to build up that story that a few cards give you. You got to buy into. You got to sort of flesh out that tale of who your character is. And the board helps, right? This right here goes a long way towards that because, you know, your guy could be very smart and be really bad at being out in the frontier. Or, you know, like the last character I played was really good with guns, but he didn't speak so good, you know, because his knowledge was zero pretty much the whole game. And so if you buy into that, you enjoy that aspect of it, I think you're going to get some enjoyment out of this, you know. Other than that, if you don't care about story-driven games, if you don't want to buy into this whole almost role-playing but without any mechanisms kind of concept, then I don't think this is one for you, okay? That's what I think. I enjoyed it. I personally thought it was a neat experience. I don't know how often I'm going to play. You know, it's a game that I think after I've played 5, 6, 7 times, I might start to no longer be entertained by the stories it tells, you know. But there's a solid amount of content here. There's a good amount of cards, interesting tales that you can deliver from this box. So there you go. That's what I thought of Legends of the American Frontier. If you like what this is bringing, you're going to enjoy it. If it's apparent that it's not your style, you can safely pass on this one.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.